Pete finding his father. Scene, take one, and action.
Hello?
Hello, Pete. I've been expecting you.
Who are you?
I am the man responsible for 9/11.
I don't know what to say. I've been looking for you my whole life. It's all led up to this moment. I guess I just. Who are you? Why?
Well, Pete, you've been looking for me, but I've always been closer than you could ever imagine.
I don't understand.
I'm your father, Pete. Welcome back to Show Me Yours with Jackie and Jonny, everybody.
I'm Jackie Agnew.
I'm Jonny DeVito.
And I'm Ty Boisano.
You're goddamn right.
What's up?
You're goddamn right he is. And right off the top, ladies and gentlemen, if you could like and subscribe and give all the reviews, do all the stuff.
That like button, leave a comment, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Whoa. I keep dropping mics recently. I just go like limp wristed all of a sudden. That's like the third time that's happened in the last month.
It's a wrist thing, not
Yeah.
like a finger thing.
Okay.
I know, it's like my that's exactly what it is. It goes. It happened one time at a comedy
Listen, Jackie,
show.
it happens to a lot of people. It's very common. Nothing to be ashamed about.
I mean, honestly, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of the wrist action. All the wrist actions that you do. You know what I mean? I'm here to say continue on that path, but maybe at the top of the show when we're doing the business, we'll try to keep the microphone right in the mouth generally.
We're really going for this Blue Chew sponsor, aren't we? We're really trying.
Jackie's wrist is broken.
Yeah.
Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, like, subscribe, 5 stars,
Do all the
review, comment, all those things.
Yeah, if you want to see us live, as always, come to King's Head Pub in the Kitsilano area. If you are in Vancouver, Tyler, what do you got
Every
going
Tuesday.
Oh, we got a whole bunch going on. We're doing shows at the New Amsterdam Cafe, which is like the old Amsterdam Cafe as far as I'm concerned.
on?
It's
I
just
just did the
Amsterdam.
first one. It was fun and it was smoky and it was. I got to get into a new Stella got a new groove.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. Yeah, so we're going to be doing shows there. And then, of course, we're doing shows at Calabash. And then the Roast Battle Federation is going on June 2nd at the Calabash. That is the next one. Johnny DeVito will be competing.
Back in the ring, baby.
Back in the ring. It's
Yeah.
versus Jordan Wilson. Maybe we'll cut a promo today.
Ooh, that could be very fun.
Spicy.
Spicy, muchi picante.
Yeah, so go check this out. Go on Eventbrite and check all those out. And, support live comedy. Woo.
Woo!
Hell yeah.
And we got a good album. We got a great album to get into today.
Yeah, we do.
But before that, we have
As always. As always, we have 40 minutes of bullshit.
But
Poor Fanny.
yeah.
Can we just real quick?
Yeah.
We've been talking about this all week.
I think that we should.
It's like, dude, we did that band so dirty last week.
Yeah.
In the interest of talking about a band that is criminally overlooked.
Yeah, the whole thing is how overlooked and underappreciated they are, and
what did we do?
talked
What the fuck
about
did we do?
Aliens for an hour, and then squeezed Fanny into the last 15 minutes.
Brought my favorite alien Bigfoot shirt today just to commemorate the last 2 episodes, and I believe that we were actually going to get away from the paranormal. Ty, we're going to give you a break for the week.
I don't know if this story's really a break.
Yeah. I was like, have you just seen what we're talking about?
No, I
Like,
haven't.
Not really a break. I was like, yeah, not really a break.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay,
But,
cool.
but he would consider it a break.
Don't worry, he's aware of the story.
Yeah.
He doesn't know that we're talking about it,
Oh.
but he's fully aware of this.
I was gonna say, I'm like,
I'm sure you guys have heard of a little fella named Pete Davidson.
Are we doing it? Yeah, dude.
And,
he does know.
and perhaps you've also heard of a lass named Kim Kardashian.
Sure.
And maybe if you've heard of both of them, you have also caught a whisper of their union. Pete Davidson and Kim Kardashian are having a torrid love affair.
I think that a lot of people might say that this union might be something that would be unpredicted, but I think in the world of celebrity, in the weird timeline that we exist in, where Donald Trump was a president, Snoop Dogg and Martha Stewart had a cooking show on a television network together. I don't think anything's out of the realm of possibility.
Right.
Yeah.
And so this relationship has sparked a number of questions. There are some people who think that maybe because the Kardashians are known for kind of pulling publicity stunts, there are some people who were...
You're telling me the Kardashians are fucking do that shit?
It all started with the glove, man. It all started with the glove.
Yeah.
So there are some people that speculate perhaps that this is a distraction from the whole Travis Scott Astro World incident. But there is another theory floating around that has piqued our interest. And that is essentially that Pete Davidson is sleeping his way through the Illuminati so he can find the person that planned 9/11 and kill them to avenge his father.
Now, for those of you who don't know, Pete Davidson's father, famously a New York City firefighter, died in the 9/11 attacks.
I guess it's from the story. Like his father is Darth Vader.
For those of you not familiar
Anytime
with
you're
the story,
avenging a death,
it's like
Skywalker motherfucker.
I
over here.
think that everybody can latch on to this story. Like, conspiracy theories are hard to sell, you know what I mean? And a lot of times they'll have to the truth will be exposed over time. But I think what you have here is kind of a classic underdog story, you know what I mean, with a guy like Pete maybe punching way above his weight class from a New York City comedian up into the $1 billion booty area, which is absolutely insane on his own, just in the history of hookups, you know what I mean?
I should have this prepared, but let's take a glance through his dating history.
Okay, because Pete's dick has been busy, right? Pete has been up to some
busy.
serious fucking, right?
It's been busy.
And I think the fascinating thing about any kind of an Illuminati story is everybody kind of wants a peek behind the curtain at maybe at the rich and the famous, or maybe the people that are pulling the strings, right?
Right.
What we like here, I think, is the classic underdog tale of revenge.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know?
I mean, the whole thing is fascinating. So his first, I actually totally forgot about this, but his first relationship that kind of made waves was Cassie David, Larry David's daughter.
Ooh, good pull.
Yeah, and that was in
Pretty good. Not bad. Not bad.
in 2016 until 2018. So that was,
That's a lot of bagels to haggle over the price of.
And then, same year, within a couple months of that relationship ending, it came out that Pete Davidson was now in a relationship with Ariana Grande.
Ariana Grande.
So I
yes.
believe first child of the Illuminati. Is there Ariana part of the Illuminati?
I have no idea, but I mean, because now so let's talk about the Illuminati in the sense of celebrity and the rich and the famous, right?
Yeah.
When we were kids in the 90s, say at the time that the album that we're talking about was coming out, there was a famous story of a guy named Mark Ronson, who famously went on to write The Men Who Stare at Goats, had some previous kind of conspiratorial books before that. Very fun reads, definitely check them out. But the most famous story I think that he was involved in was actually going to Bohemian Grove with at one time a relatively sane, who's that fucking idiot? The InfoWars guy.
Oh, Alex Jones.
Alex Jones, yes.
You called him an idiot?
Yeah, I'm sorry, my fault.
How dare you,
Relatively
sir? I may not be into all this shit, but god damn it, I'm an Alex Jones fan.
You put some respect on that man's name.
Imagine
I'm
the
not gonna
twist.
I'm not gonna not say that guy's not fucking hilarious.
Yeah,
okay,
the
all right.
twist that Ty
hilarious.
has been shitting on all of our stories these last few weeks. Turns out he's a huge Alex Jones.
Yeah.
He's like, you guys haven't even talked about frogs being gay.
Yeah.
But the thing is that Mark and Alex Jones, I mean, at the time they were actually doing some some deep dives in the and uncovering some actually pretty unsettling shit as far as agent provocateurs and Seattle riots and stuff like that was concerned. They actually did like since Alex Jones did, but the two of them snuck into Bohemian Grove, and the story is fascinating because basically, according to their accounts and a few kind of shaky images of at the time, like handy cam footage or whatever video evidence that they could get out of there, we're talking like the rich and the famous, and this has been confirmed from a lot of other sources, that we're talking like the Clintons and the Bush families and presidents and things like that, right? So of high society, people that are going to this campsite basically in the Pacific Northwest to dress up like druids and robes and stuff like that and burn effigies, one famously of like a big owl. So a lot of like weird stuff is definitely happening as far as like the elite is concerned with places like Bohemian Grove. Now, then it gets into like an Eyes Wide Shut kind of thing, like who can get into the upper echelon? Is it just for the rich and the powerful? Then the famous kind of becomes like linked into it. Right. Now, like confirmed members of said Illuminati, like I mean, who knows, right? Everything at this point is just like speculation and conspiracy.
But now
that bitch ain't in it. She ain't in it. Yeah. No way. Ariana Grande?
No. Yeah. Well, of course, but that's what I'm saying is that now is that celebrity is expanded, right? And like the term celebrity can really be like a cast a wide net. And even though Ariana Grande is definitely one of the like more successful pop stars of the past decade, I wouldn't probably put her in.
Well, the names that you hear are like Beyonce, Jay-Z, the Clintons, Kardashians.
There is a different level, even of fame. I feel like that these people are at.
Bezos,
Kanye.
And that was
I feel like
Kanye.
they kicked Kanye out, and now he's trying to start his own.
Yeah, Kanye's doing his own thing now.
Yeah, he's doing his own thing, trying to ruin Pete Davidson's life.
Yeah. Now, because then there was the other thing that kind of supports this theory was the story of Kim Kardashian and Pete Davidson going over to Jeff Bezos' house, and I think Bezos is also rumored to be a part of this organization.
I think was Jeff Bezos a part of that when like Amazon started out in a garage selling books? I don't believe, but I think that once you do get to a certain level of,
once you're going to
success
space
and influence, that's how you get there.
Can I come in your club?
Exactly.
Have you been to space? Yeah. All right, get out of here.
All right, Jeff, get in here.
And so after Ariana Grande,
think they get a deal on lube now and stuff like that.
They don't like Jeff at all, though.
They don't, but
they're like, fuck, it's Jeff. Oh, man, Jeff, what a bummer.
Who the fuck let this guy in? Is fucking
He's
Jeff
single-handedly tanked a lot of their businesses. So like, how do you think about
it? Elon's just sitting at the head of the table now, just like a fucking weirdo.
Just saying, look at it.
Yeah.
Look at it. Yeah. Just slow stroking.
And it's not impressive. It's just weird looking.
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
It's just weird.
Scaly.
That's the weird part about somebody with like Asperger's or like somebody on the spectrum like that. Like when they're like, there's no sex involved when it's just like look at it. It's just look at it.
Yeah.
Look at it.
Oh man,
super weird. But how far do you have to go to get to the truth, right? And is Pete's dick long enough? You know what I mean, to excavate this kind of story? Because I think that once you get to a Kardashian, where do you go from there? Because he can't just jump now and go to like another like high society debutante, if you will, right? Like he has to go to like Saudi prince territory. There are many different directions he could go. So I'm kind of, the one confusing thing is, so his relationship history. So after Ariana Grande was Kate Beckinsale. And then I believe it was straight from Kate to Kim. And so as far as I know, the only child of the Illuminati then that he has had relations with is Kim. And so, but could this all be part of his plan where he was kind of working up a resume? And so then by the time he gets to Kim, Kim's like, well, he's dated other very famous people. He knows the deal. Sure.
And so he gets welcomed in with open arms. He starts getting a spray tan.
Right.
He's mingling. And then, because the Kardashians are linked to all like those degrees of connections, just like shrink to one. As soon as you're in with the Kardashians, like pretty much all of like the powerful people in America.
Yeah, but do you think
Even within the Kardashians, I feel like there's a ranking though.
100%?
Yeah.
Scott
You know what I
Disick
mean?
doesn't know what the fuck is
Exactly.
going on, right?
Hey, Lord Disick.
Look. All right.
Like, yeah, because like, okay, does one of them date Travis Barker?
Yeah, Courtney and Travis just got married.
That's wild.
Yeah,
That's
but like,
insane.
they're not inviting him. To
Yeah,
these.
he seems like a bit of an outcast. I don't know. I think he's just keeping Courtney.
Is she the one
and
with
What
the
if you
chicken
get to
hands?
like, well, no, like what if you
she
get to
has
be
kids. She's the only one with white kids.
Who's the one who has like the chicken feet hands?
Oh, that's Chloe.
Yeah, that was wild.
Yeah.
I don't know anything
There
about
Dude, I'll
some,
show you this photo.
Yeah,
this
there's
chick
some photos
straight up chicken
of-
Can we
feet
put it
for
right here
hands.
for the people?
Yeah. She her hands definitely are questionable, which
Okay.
could be part of
They
it.
look like
They're-
bad Halloween extensions.
Yeah, they're
to be like I'm a werewolf.
inhuman.
Like
Yeah, they're lizard-like maybe.
yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh.
And you guys want to talk shit about Alex Jones? The lizard people. I was waiting for it. Scaly penises, fucking hands. I'm telling you.
But so yeah, who knows the scope of people that he's met now. Pete, they were just at Kim had like an Instagram post that was like casual dinner with the president or whatever, and so he's just dining with the elite. Like Pete is fully a part of the fold now. So
He was dining with Biden.
yeah.
That's
And
crazy.
he had dinner with Biden.
Oh yeah.
Was it at 3:30 p.m.?
Yeah.
Pete starts asking about 9/11, and he's like, "Well, that's actually past my bedtime."
Yeah.
He doesn't even remember the event.
yeah.
What's that mean?
What are you talking about? Twin
September
Towers.
11th.
Yeah. I have a meeting there on Tuesday.
He doesn't like to golf until really late into the fall. You know what I mean?
And so now the question is, I mean, this leak could be potentially dangerous for Mr. Davidson, because this might cause some red flags within the Illuminati. So if anything happens to Pete within the foreseeable future, then we know that all of this is true.
That could be the case. I think of he might just be a little bit like inexperienced in the realm of espionage. Like this might be like a red herring that he might have put out there himself, which might have just completely backfired. You know what I mean? Like you want to get in front of something like this,
Right.
right? Like at this point, it's so
Right.
like he looks at the mirror and he's like, "Wait a minute,
Yeah.
nobody's believing that I'm pulling this off right now."
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, that's the thing. See, I think it's great that everyone's giving Pete this credit that he's
Yeah.
come up with this plan.
Yeah.
I saw a special. Like, let's not.
Yeah.
It's good, but I'm like, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't think he's like that. I kind of think it's like this situation. I feel like the same way. Like the same way when like super like whatever chic people go to a thrift store
Yeah.
and buy like the ugliest shit possible to wear.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's what Kim Kardashian has done
Yeah.
by choosing Pete Davidson as a lover. That's kind of the vibe. I feel like he's like, they're like, no, this is like a great pawn sword. It's just a great distraction to like so they can do some other shit.
Yeah. I
whatever.
think
Pete's
that's
like Don's,
definitely
Don's dog Garth. My friend Don's is like has a
Yeah,
lovely
yeah.
family, but their dog just looks like they found it in the dump fighting over chicken bones. It's just like this vicious, like ugly looking little thing, and it might be the the same thing because there is like there's a heart of gold there, and then it's a more sense of endearment you feel towards this couple for what I mean for
Yeah.
keeping this little fucking.
And I'm not mad at it because I'm like, he's a dweeb, but I'm like, I'm a fucking dweeb, so this is great news for me.
yeah.
Oh yeah,
Like,
he's been
yeah.
doing
Totally.
very
Big
well.
shout out to
which-
Garth, by the way.
I'm currently punching up in my relationship
Yeah.
because shit like this exists. So
Yeah.
I'm not mad at it.
Hey, man, you're reaping the benefits of it too. So
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah. Because that has always been a question, is like, how does he do it? What is Pete's secret? Obviously, everyone instinctually goes to, well, he must be rocking like a hefty member under
Got a
there.
hog on him. Yeah.
Yeah, I
he's
heard,
got-
I heard
he's
he's got
got-
a piece.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because to pull all of these like uber famous, very attractive women looking like he does, and like he's funny, he's charming, but he's not that funny or that charming,
No, yeah,
Um,
exactly. There's like
So
if you
could
took your
it
pick.
be that Pete, maybe when his father tragically died on 9/11, maybe it released some sort of radioactive but invisible to the eye that it unlocked some sort of power within Pete, where he now has the ability to kind of like hypnotize.
You mean his
Babe, I'll
Like-
go
You mean-
on the ride with you.
You
Like,
need-
I'll take some wild fucking rides with you, babe.
You mean his mojo?
Yeah,
You just have the awesome.
exactly.
You just have the awesome powers.
The mojo got broken.
Okay.
And then now he's like infused, and so now he can kind of brainwash these ladies, but it's always has been like for the purpose of ultimately it all comes back to the dad, it all comes back to 9/11.
Okay, I got an idea for you. What if Pete gets to the top of the ladder and finds out, who's responsible for 9/11, and he finds his dad?
Oh,
Do you know what I mean? Like, the end of the Matrix kind of situation, right? You're like, what the fuck is going on here, right?
Yeah.
Pete doesn't recognize his father. He hasn't seen him since he's roughly, a young boy, right?
Yeah.
9-10 years old or whatever, right? He's
Yeah.
obviously aged so much. What if Pete's father was actually responsible for 9/11 and then maybe became a firefighter just so that he could use the cover of dying in that. Oh, so that he could then, go on and kind of run the world
That he
from
kind of
behind the scenes.
disappears.
Sure.
And
then with his
presumed
influence,
dead.
with his
and
influence in
then-
the Illuminati, gets his son on SNL, gets his son a bunch of like really like top-notch trim. Let's get
Yeah.
serious. You know what I mean?
And it's
then-
all for the purpose of bringing his son in, but he couldn't do it right away. He couldn't nab him off the street, because that's too
yeah,
sudden.
okay.
It's
Yeah,
like
It's
yeah.
a Darth
this is
Vader
crazy.
situation, right?
He
Because
has to-
100%. Someone's
Exactly.
losing a hand.
Exactly. Yeah. It
Yeah.
had to be this way gradually over time.
Yeah.
Where he brings everything is very deliberately set up. In life you're constantly making choices that
Totally.
affect the rest of your life.
100%.
But Pete's life was constructed so that every time he had to make a choice, one of the choices was set up to be no one knows Pete better than his father. So he knew if he presented these series of choices, he knew which one his son was going to choose.
Yep.
And so it's all been constructed to eventually lead into the moment. He's being walked down the hall. It's dark. There's robes. The door opens.
Of course.
Everyone else leaves. The door shuts. Then Pete walks up to the orchestrator of 9/11. There's smoke in the air. And
No, set the scene. Keep going. Keep
Yeah,
going. You're right there.
I'm
You're right there.
Ian.
You're right there.
and then you just hear a voice. You don't see the face because robed.
Right. A lot of robes.
Pete, I've been expecting you. Who are you? Pete, you know who I am. No, I don't. I have so many questions. Pete.
Can I do Pete's dad? Ask me the question.
Okay, hold on.
I
Hold on.
Okay.
Okay. Pete finding his father. Scene, take one, and action.
Hello?
Hello, Pete. I've been expecting you.
Who are you?
I am the man responsible for 9/11.
I don't know what to say. I've been looking for you my whole life. It's all led up to this moment. I guess I just. Who are you? Why?
Well, Pete, you've been looking for me, but I've always been closer than you could ever imagine.
I don't understand.
I'm your father, Pete.
Okay, great.
Wait,
Now-
no. Here we go. And I knew that a young boy with a face like that from Long Island would never get the respect that penis deserves. I saw you as a young boy, Pete. I saw you as a 6, 7, 8-year-old boy
Right.
packing serious hog.
Right.
You were a toddler that didn't need a high chair. You sat high up on that cock.
That makes sense.
It was fascinating, and I
Mhm.
knew that with a face like that, you would never get the fame that you deserved.
Right.
Therefore, I knew that it was up to me to orchestrate the most heinous terrorist attack that's ever been committed on U.S. soil and had to kill 3,000 Americans that day just so your penis could live out the destiny that it always deserved. The destiny that mine never could.
I mean that.
Because, Pete, look at it. Mine looks just like yours.
that certainly makes sense.
It's pretty cool what I did for you, right, Pete?
Yeah.
You want to have a game? You want to have a catch?
That's I've been waiting my whole life.
Okay, great. Now let's see the penises.
Yeah, I was kind of angling more for of a Pete, I am your father moment.
No.
I
had to get to it quick
I'm
because
glad
I wanted.
that you jumped in there
Yeah.
to make it.
He got the father part
I'm
out
glad that
real
you
quick.
jumped in there to take
yeah, let's
all
not
of
be
the
father.
lines.
Let's not be father, but dicks.
Yeah.
But what about
Yeah.
dick?
Honestly,
I
fuck
was-
the foreplay.
Let's get this over with, and now I have a monologue to get to.
100%, right? Because I have a
Thanks
feeling
for
that
setting the scene. I'll take it from
He's
here.
been watching Cusack movies.
I honestly think that this goes a little bit deeper, and it's something that never really occurred to me until a couple seconds ago, that this whole thing could be like legitimately the wildest tale of a father's love, really told. Like, I mean, some people are misguided, you know what I mean? Sometimes your best intentions might be, you know, perceived by the world as evil or heinous, you know, such as like an attack of 9/11. But if that's what you have to orchestrate to get your son in bed with everybody from Ariana Grande to Kim Kardashian, you know what I mean? Then, like, you know, would your father go to those lengths for you?
Mine would not. No.
I was gonna get to you.
No.
Yeah, that's not a question.
He wouldn't get you frosted flakes.
My dad wouldn't come from Alberta.
Let alone orchestrate.
These are like
Yeah.
The Battle of Alberta's over, and he still has other shit to do.
yeah.
He's Illuminati, more like Illuminati.
Yeah. Illuminati.
Nati.
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good on the quality time. No, we can't have a catch. Yeah.
Shout out to our dads, not ties.
But yeah, it's certainly it's an interesting story that it's worth following.
Absolutely.
There's so many different possibilities. You know, it could be like you know, it could be that Pete's dad is actually dead. It could be that Pete's dad is the orchestrator. It could be someone we're not even thinking of. It could be someone.
This thing. I mean, the rabbit hole goes deep, right? Like, if you follow this thing all the way up the ladder, there's no telling, you know, like where you could get, right? If you follow the money, that's one thing that, you know, you might find something that is behind that door that you don't want to find, you know. But at the end of the day, all we're looking for is truth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We hope that Pete finds his truth.
Yeah. I mean, we always hope for a happy ending with these things.
It's going to be at the bottom of $1 billion pussy somewhere. You keep digging, buddy.
Yeah, good for him, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, he is really like, I feel like he's like ruining his comedy career for this. So it's got to be
true.
The stakes have got to be high.
I mean,
you know?
well,
there's no way that he's just doing this for.
It depends. Like, if you want to be.
badass.
If he wanted to be fucking Dave Attell and just be like a true comic, fair enough. But like, once you like, he's gonna explode into a level of superstardom that's gonna like expand, like kind of like encapsulate. Stand up will be there, but I think he'll be like an actor and like a. What do you call it? Like just like a fucking celebrity. You know what I mean? For lack of a better term.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Though, is that he's no longer relatable at all, and that was kind of like his whole thing. Was that he was just like a young dude. Fucking dad died in 9/11, like from fucking Staten Island. Like he was a very kind of relatable. Like, I can't believe this guy is on SNL doing so well, you know.
Yep.
And now
guys,
that
we
whole
blow up from the roast or whatever, and like you know, there's like you go like Justin Way or whatever, like true like 100% stand up. Or, you know what I mean? Something else, right?
And because even now, like, since all of the stuff with Kanye and stuff, he really hasn't been on SNL. Like, they haven't.
I think
he just retired. He just he's like literally
like
just like last week or something.
Exactly.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah. Which is crazy, you know. And it's too bad because he was good on SNL, and like all of his little times he would come on Weekend Update and shit, and now. Yeah, like that's done, and I just don't see how. I mean, he can do like, you know, Kevin Hart style, like he's still gonna do stand up, but it's just like the celebrity is so far surpassed it that it's not really it's not the same thing anymore. So it only makes sense that the reason he's doing this, the stakes have to be so high. such as avenging his father's death.
100%. If that's if that's the lengths that he's got to go to, you know what I mean, to give up the things that he loves to get to the bottom of the truth, then I hope that you find that. Rest in pussy.
Yeah. Also, the Kardashians. Have you ever noticed they only ever date like skinny, kind of like geeky, way less attractive white guys?
We got a shot, Ty.
Or
yeah, real shame.
Yeah. Or either that or black
Terrible
dudes.
what they're doing.
It's just that or black dudes, Like it could not be more of a stark contrast, but those are literally the only people they date.
Well, find your lane, fellas. Find your lane,
Yeah, not mad at it. Not mad at it.
But our best to Pete.
Absolutely.
And his father.
Best to Pete. Good on him. Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah.
Or maybe Kanye's in on it too. Maybe all of that shit was a distraction. So
I just
he
want
could
I want the diss
make
record.
his way through the catacombs.
Yeah.
I mean, it's already been.
Well, but
that
I want like an old school like they did.
You want an Eazy-E.
Yeah,
Death Row records.
There's one called like Bloods and Crips banging on wax, where it's just a whole record of legitimate Bloods and Crips that could never be in the same room together, but they're all on the same record, and it's legendary, right? So if Kanye had like all the rappers that ride with him, and they just had this album called Skate Shooting, it would be fucking fantastic. And, I'm looking at you, Pusha T.
Though all that has kind of died down. I haven't heard Kanye say anything.
He was just taking
L's. He's too busy wearing those big old boots. Do you see those boots he had on? Oh my dude, they were huge combat boots. They were.
I don't understand what the fuck he's doing out there.
I don't even understand.
What was that fucking outfit he was wearing a few weeks ago? That was like jean shorts, like rubber boots, and like a muscle tee.
Yeah.
Fat Joe's caught wearing the
but it's like every one of those items is like 5 G's.
Exactly.
Oh yeah,
it's crazy.
How on earth? It's a muscle shirt. Why is this so expensive?
I saw some video of Fat Joe trying to defend him. Like he bought a pair of them, and there was a picture of him, and he just looks fucking ridiculous. And he's like, no, I got him right here. He's like, this is the comfiest shoe you're ever gonna wear. And all these guys are like, nah, Joe, that shit's fucking whack, man. That's an ugly boot, Joe. Fat Joe's just not having it.
I will say that since Kanye kind of left the family, the Kardashians' style has taken a serious turn for the worse. They are all dressed like dog shit.
She did have like a motorcycle jacket on the other day, but like the one with the pads and shit. Like it was just like, but it was like a Balenciaga one. It was just like, oh my god, like that's
all of them at like the Met Gala. All of their outfits were terrible. Fucking Kim Kardashian.
so many bad outfits at that fucking thing though.
So bad.
It's just like
it's just so over the top. It's so you see
there's some
photos.
dope shit. There's some dope stuff, but there's
it's
some
fun
like,
to look at the photos, but
there's some
always
awful stuff.
The fucking the dress that Kim Kardashian wore was like the Marilyn Monroe dress.
She had to like drop a bunch of.
Oh, I saw that.
So basically, she like didn't eat for like weeks leading up to it, and she still couldn't fit into it. And there's like a video of them like trying to like it's getting so fucking stretched out.
Yeah.
People are so pissed that fucking Ripley's, believe it or not, let her fucking wear this dress and completely ruined it.
Dean Cade's up for this one.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm telling you, Dean Cade is the head of the Illuminati.
Yeah.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
That's
what's up.
It's just in Ripley's, believe it or not, like they'll never find me here.
It looks like where they would have meetings and shit, right? Like that old set.
And that makes sense too. Why they would have like Marilyn Monroe, like you could see like JFK, like the Illuminati's been a thing since way before people were talking
Do you think
about
that's the only
it.
way
Like
that
it's
regular
all
people could get into the Illuminati is like you have to like eat a plane to get into the Ripley's, believe it or not. There's a guy who ate an entire plane on Ripley's, believe it or not, just piece by piece. It's on the show because like do you remember when they had a show in the early 2000s like cause
yeah.
There was one on that where there was
a plane?
he did a bunch of crazy shit. He'd also just eat plates, so he would sit there with just like a plate and just eating that.
Like he's a fucking cookie monster.
Yeah. So it was kind of telling like his progression of like how this like evolved or whatever, and at like throughout his like 30 years of just eating wild shit, he ate like an entire Cessna. There's a picture of him next to a small Cessna plane, and he ate like every part of it before. Yeah, exactly. Just like with the fucking belt open after Thanksgiving dinner on the couch. Like,
Wouldn't you die? Like, isn't there like a?
I don't know if
bunch
he
of,
like shit it out or whatever, but yeah, there's a bunch of crazy shit. I also saw another dude food related on Ripley's Believe It or Not thing that had his like. I want to say his stomach was removed, so he basically had to eat like 9 meals a day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember he was making like shake and bake chicken, and I was like, that looked good. That's what I remember. Yeah, I miss shake and bake a lot.
And you're like, oh, fuck
Yeah, that wouldn't be too bad to just to have to eat nonstop.
He looked like he was going through it.
I mean, yeah. Everything other, not having to have your stomach removed would be terrible. But yeah, to be able to eat 9 meals a day. Anyways, I remember one that
I watched you eat 10 pounds of pasta last night.
Yeah. I remember one. Ripley's Believe It or Not. That was like the woman with like the really long nails or whatever. Yeah. And they just fucking curl around and shit. And her saying that she can't
do anything.
She can't do anything, but she can't cut them because I guess after a while, like the nerves start to grow up. Oh, so it would feel like cutting a fucking finger off to like. Oh,
that's wild.
I mean, put me under and figure that out. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Totally,
yeah, and why would you let it get to that point? Like,
you want to get in the Illuminati?
I just remember the dude. Like the dude always had it, right? And he like carried it around in that bag. It was like that long, like Crown Royal sack that he would put over his nails.
Oh, I remember that. Unsheath them.
Like, let me just take this velvet sack off my nails.
Like, is that really worth it? Because, like, I mean, I fucking hate 40 hours a week as much as the next guy. But do you grow the fingernails long enough just so you can sit on this fucking street corner showing people your fucking nails for
Absolutely
like where is the? You know what I mean?
And how long did you have to grow them before they became like an attraction, like a sightseeing type?
There's a good
how many years were you just
15-year period where you're just a nasty motherfucker.
Really long nails, and it's not like something that people would pay to see. It's just
do
like
you just really like FloJo or what? I don't understand why your nails are like that.
Super fucking weird.
Once it gets to the point that they start like curling over, but how long is that? How long do nails have to be before they start curling? This dude in particular
that Ty's talking about, if I remember correctly,
they
went they went long.
They look
for
like an elf shoe.
Exactly.
Totally. The lady that you're talking about, because more kind of like concentric circles starting at the nail.
Yeah. Well, weird. Not necessarily starting. Like it went out, but not out that far. From what I remember, I was a kid.
I think this guy's got like, you know what I mean, like 24 inches of soft hang here before he really starts to curl it up.
That's so gross.
Which is gnarly.
Yeah, that's. Ugh. Anyways, I wish we weren't ending on that note for the story. To bring it all back, once again, power to you, Pete. I hope you do it, little man. All right.
I can like 6'2" with a big dick, man. Do anything, Pete.
So we got a good album to get into today. It is Foo Fighters. There is nothing left to lose. Spoke too soon, I guess.
Hey,
nice.
Hey.
Their third studio album released November 2nd, 1999. It's the first album with Taylor on the drums. At this point, him and Dave were still splitting drum duties. It wasn't until their next album, One by One, that Taylor became the full-time drummer, but this is the first album
for the late great Taylor Hawkins.
The late great Taylor Hawkins.
Fuck yeah.
So this just like a little bit of the history there of the band before Taylor. The first Foo Fighters album, the self-titled one, was only Dave and released he recorded it like October 94. It was released like July 95, I think. And so he released it under the name Foo Fighters because obviously it was very shortly after Kurt Cobain's passing. He didn't want it to be a whole thing that he was releasing a new album. He just like needed to record this music, and he just kind of like handed out like mixtapes basically. Second album, The Color and the Shape, he had a different drummer. And basically they recorded the whole album. Dave went back and listened to it, and he didn't like the drums, so he went back and re-recorded all of the drums himself.
It's like a famous story, but like nobody knows that guy's name. Like who's that guy?
I wrote
your
it
claim
down.
To
I
fame.
did.
Nice.
William Goldsmith.
William Gold. Billy Gold.
Yeah, he
can't
didn't
bang him. Billy can't bang him.
But he didn't tell old Billy over there that he had re-recorded the drums until the album came out.
Billy not happy.
Old Willie Goldsmith was not happy about it. And there's a really good documentary, Foo Fighters documentary called Back and Forth. It's on Netflix. I watched it, quite a few years ago. I wanted to watch it in preparation for this podcast, but I knew it would make me cry at this point, so I decided not to. But it's really good. I recommend it. And they talk about this story, and Dave is like telling the story. He was like, yeah, in retrospect, I could have handled that a lot better.
I was going to say, for the nicest guy in rock and roll.
Right?
Ouch.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, he's young as fuck, though.
I think there's like a point of like professional pride or something. Like if you're sitting there, like if you're looking or listening to an album, I guess, and there's something on it that you can do.
If you're fucking
better.
Dave Grohl and you're about to put out an album and you don't like the drums, you're gonna go back and record those drums yourself. You probably should have told the guy before the album came out.
Yeah.
But
what are you gonna do?
But he was a kid, he was still super young at that time. And so to record this album, Dave bought a house in Virginia for them to all like basically record in the basement without the presence of a record company. And they had also just left Capitol Records at this time, and he called that house Studio 606.
Yeah, the old 606 studio.
606.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with the 808.
Which has a bunch of different, like, why he picked it and all that stuff, right?
Yeah,
Is there some lore around the
exactly.
606?
Well, he said it's basically like one of those numbers that you kind of
See
see
all the
everywhere.
time. Like
Yeah.
a 23 sort of situation.
Yeah, he's like, when you look at
I'm
the
1111
clock.
for whatever reason.
Yeah, he's like, you look at the clock and it's 6:06, or you see it on a license plate or whatever. But then there's also the story of like how he like had like an argument with his dad or whatever, and his dad was like, what are you gonna do with your life? And that was like the first moment he kind of told his dad how serious he was about being a musician. And ended up later that night like sneaking out of his dad's apartment, and it was apartment 606. Yeah. And so
Fuck you, Dad.
Yeah. And so
Really cranking it in there today.
That one for you, man.
But yeah, and it's super interesting too the way they recorded. There's a quote where Dave's talking about how like the hardest part was making it sound good without like all of like the computer programs and stuff. Like they didn't use auto-tune and all that shit, which is like interesting to know that this album was recorded without all of that. Because I think it sounds really good.
Yeah.
Especially his voice, like knowing that there was nothing used for that.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of cool. I always like when any band in like the modern era or whatever is gonna like record something.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like without the help of computers and stuff like that. It always I don't know, but it just kind of adds like something.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like it's pretty cool to see what he did. But I think like the sound of this is definitely like. They're going on to be like the biggest rock band in the world. You know what I mean? From this thing with like Learning to Fly is so different from like Monkey Wrench. You know what I mean? Like
this
the
is
earlier stuff from before, I think.
It's a
right?
distinct departure from their earlier
Big
sound.
time departure.
Which has a lot to do with, I think, those first couple albums, it was like a lot of kind of energy and probably like emotion and anger, just needing to get it out. Whereas
I like that shit. Well, yeah, that you don't get those. You do get a few of those moments, but like right before the last chorus on Monkey Wrench, where he's like kind of yelling and shit like that, you get a little bit of that.
Before I quit.
Yeah, right. That's the shit.
Yeah.
That's definitely.
I went through a phase
prefer
when
that,
I would yell that chorus. I still know all the lyrics to it whenever it comes up.
Yeah, right. But there's a lot of those. There's a lot of punk and hardcore jams or whatever that I have those same like fucking like scream alongs to or whatever like that. And I think there's like the raw energy or whatever is definitely like that to me is like the like still like the rock and roll kind of or like the like the last little bit of that before Dave Grohl becomes undeniably the biggest rock star on earth or whatever.
Yeah, and so I think that this album is obviously like very special in like many ways. It's fucking Taylor's first album with them. So that's the biggest thing. And because of that, you can kind of see them settling into like their new sound, what they would go on to become. They still have that like kind of punk influence, but much more melodic, much more, kind of rock. And you see them starting to gel. I mean, like Dave and Taylor's chemistry is what made that band what it was. And also how it was recorded. Like they were just like alone in this house together, similar to Blood Sugar, the Chili Peppers record, how it's just kind of recorded away from everyone, and then you kind of hear like their chemistry just like as people because they're spending all their time together. And yeah, Dave there's like a quote saying that this like album just kind of reminds him of that time when they all like were kind of becoming like best friends, and he was like, we would just like drink a beer and eat chili and drink whiskey and then record whenever we wanted to.
Sounds like a good time.
Yeah. And so I guess what are your guys' thoughts on the album?
I think that the Foo Fighters are like undeniably one of the like the like the quintessential like rock and roll band of like the early 2000s or 90s and stuff like that. Being like a 90s kid and kind of already kind of finding my thing, there was like I think finding the appreciation for the Foo Fighters rather than like they were the band that if they were on the radio or on MTV, I'd be like, oh, okay, well at least it's these guys. It's like, okay, right? Like I never really thought that they were like the breakthrough band for me, or I never really held them at like any kind of like pedestal other than the fact of like knowing like Dave Grohl's history, right? So like they definitely have those like they have the tolerable radio hits for the punk rock kid that did like everything that he could to like hate anything mainstream,
right?
And then I think seeing him live later in the years, a friend of mine just kind of had some tickets, and I went to Rogers Arena. And you go in there, and there's a distinct difference of like live shows, especially from like the smaller, intimate kind of things that I'm used to, where some of the members of my favorite bands just recognize my face from showing up here. You know what I mean? It's a much smaller community, and I love that. And then never really seeing the higher, production elements or whatever, what like a rock and roll show could be. And then in the same year, I saw Alice Cooper and the Foo Fighters and Iron Maiden, or within like the same like 2 years, all in the same room at
stadium concert.
Totally,
and I'm like,
it's a whole other fucking.
Oh fuck yeah. It's awesome, right? And I think that the snob in me, like I thank the Foo Fighters for probably like letting me not be such a pretentious dick bag, you know what I mean, right? Everybody's gonna shit on like Nickelback or whatever, right? And like to me, there was a time when I'm like, well, what's the difference between these guys and those guys? Foo Fighters hold the more rock and roll Grammys than any other, you know what I mean? It's like on paper, the Foo Fighters are the best rock and roll band. Not a fucking chance, you know what I mean, right? But that being said, what you do need to give up for is a level of consistency, a level of integrity in Dave Grohl, and something that like doesn't need to be like I don't need to be so fucking like attached to something like I am for the rest of like the music or whatever that you know what I mean, because I kind of feel like this thing is made for me, whereas the Foo Fighters is kind of made for everybody in that fucking arena, and that's the thing for it. You know what I mean? Kind of like so you can kind of open it up, and I can really be like, oh, this is gonna be some kid's first experience into rock and roll, and then Dave Grohl is gonna, you know what I mean, fucking like mention bands in interviews, and that kid's gonna go on and discover rock, you know what I mean, right? So he's gonna be somebody's like fucking like foot for the door, and I think for like any like ambassador for rock and roll, I think that's a pretty good one to have. So yeah, and then for this album specifically, it's crazy how with like listening to it front to back, because it's in my CD case, you know what I mean? It's one of those things that it's so like, it's fucking. You can put it on. It's at the party, right? Like there's a lot of shit that's in my CDs that if you're having people over, maybe don't put this one on for everybody. Right. If you'd refused, top of that list, right? But you keep these albums around or whatever because I don't want to say it's background music or whatever, but it's just like kind of it's just good. You know what I mean? It's quintessential rock and roll, and this particular album fucking cemented them with so many hits on it that make them undeniably now. You know what I mean? One of the biggest rock and roll bands on earth. So, fuck yeah.
Super good album, crazy good album. Like it is so much different than what they did before.
Yeah.
My biggest thing is just like there is direct evidence sometimes of certain people that are like, you were put here just to do this, like just to make music.
Yeah.
And Dave Grohl is undoubtedly that guy.
Yeah.
Totally.
To think about, especially because of recently too, what that guy's story has been throughout rock and roll
Oh my God.
is fucking insane.
Yeah.
Like you think about Kurt dying, and then it's like he has this stuff like recorded basically, and then is gonna relate. That takes so much fucking balls to be able to do.
Yeah.
You're dealing with this crazy thing at a crazy young age. That's like, it's like when AC/DC lost Bon Scott. That's like, right, and then it's like they get Brian Johnson,
Yeah.
but it's not even like that. It's like if Phil Rudd of AC/DC was like, oh, I'll just be the front guy now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
And
exactly.
learn guitar really good.
Nobody fucking
and
would see that coming.
Yeah.
No fucking would ever.
no
chance. Exactly.
that
Right?
happened. Dude,
Totally.
it was wild what this dude has pulled off.
Yeah.
Well,
And-
especially
it's
too, like if you're a Nirvana fan, like you're gonna look at the back cover and be like, "Oh, that dude with the weird ponytail, that's the guy that's gonna be like that. He's gonna go down in rock and roll history as the dude." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Right?
it's
That's fucking
crazy, because this album, they were still a 3-piece at this point. And so if you look at what they all did on the album, it's like Taylor, drums, percussion, production, the bass player whose name is slipping my mind right now. It's like bass production. Then it's Dave Grohl. It's like lead vocals, guitar, drums, percussion, like literally every single thing.
Yeah.
It's like what he's capable of is insane. And also
It's genius
I think,
shit.
On tour,
yeah,
if
and
you
I
will.
think one of the like biggest things too is like you can tell with the way that other musicians talk about him, like he's
100%.
so well respected.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
His knowledge of music is insane. He's a student of the game too.
Totally.
Yeah.
Like he went and bought that soundboard
Yeah.
just because he was like, well,
Yeah.
someone's what? Like, no, this has to be.
Yeah.
You guys
Yeah.
fucking crazy. Like, so he
Yeah.
cares about preserving those things too, and which is fucking is super super cool. The Foo Fighters are like, and the Chili Peppers comparison is perfect.
Yeah.
And I get, Johnny, what you're talking about
yeah,
too,
yeah.
with because there is a little bit about like that. Fuck these guys.
Totally.
You're growing up listening to like
100%.
independent
Yeah.
punk music
Yeah.
or independent. There's a little bit like the Peppers have that,
Totally.
and then but it's like it is undeniable. Like it's such like, I mean, when I thought that when I was like maybe 18 or whatever,
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, maybe a little bit like being a bit of a dick. Foo Fighters not so much. I liked the Peppers back then too, but maybe a little bit. Sorry, with the Foo Fighters, but like. After a certain point, it's like,
Well, you can't-
what
yeah,
are
exactly.
you talking about?
Well,
You don't know
totally.
what the
Yeah.
fuck. It is undeniable. Like, not only is this guy good, he's absolutely amazing. It's
Yeah.
genius level of shit.
Totally.
And what this dude has been able to do,
Yeah.
and the shit he's been able to avoid, and his whole career is just like, it's like Dave Grohl is the fucking man. And I mean,
Yeah.
Taylor was so fucking sick too.
Yeah.
Because then in later years, you see like Taylor basically do the same fucking thing.
Yeah.
Where
he
it's like
did
he's
his
like
own
singing,
fucking thing.
and he's
Yeah,
like, and he's playing
exactly.
guitar, and he's
Yeah.
like, it's wild.
And to be like the guy that Dave Grohl kind of hands over drum duties to, like you have to be like one of the most insanely gifted drum players, and he was
Yeah.
so fucking good, and you
And a
could see
beauty
him
dude too,
in
right? You
his-
could tell I think like with the chemistry between the two of them, and I think that's like my favorite. One of the like the best things in rock and roll is that when you see a band up there that like is actually having fun doing it, you know,
It's
and
the
you can
Well,
Flea and
that's
Frusciante. It's
exactly,
fucking,
and that's
100%.
like
Those-
was
yeah.
the
It's Anti-Flag. You ever see those guys on
that-
stage? You're like, they're fucking. There's such a powerful message coming here, but these guys fucking like these four of these guys enjoy doing this.
And
you know
that
what I
was
mean?
like always the thing. It's like the connection that I feel with the Foo Fighters is similar to Chili Peppers in that way. And that one of the reasons why I love Chili Peppers so much is their connection together as a band. And you can like hear it, and you can like kind of sense the love that they have for each other, and that speaks to me so much. And it's the same thing with the Foo Fighters, and with the Peppers, like
it's all
there's
about
also
friendship.
the
here.
connection
Fucking, it always comes back to love
between
and friendship.
like my friends of mine and my little brother and stuff who all love it too, so it kind of strengthens that connection you have with the band because they all love each other, and then all these people you love them too. And it's the same with the Foo Fighters. Like my family, like we all are like big music fans. We don't there's like overlap between our different musical tastes, but we don't all necessarily always listen to the same things. But Foo Fighters was kind of one of the like bands you could put on in the car that everyone would agree with. And I think for me, like part of the reason why I connect so much with them is that like their love for each other and the connection that they have, and that's absolutely comes across.
Yeah, how
music.
strong that has to be to withstand that many years in the music business
100%.
together.
100%.
It's like, I don't know what a bond like that would
No,
feel
totally,
like.
right? Well, there's a lot of
insane.
Hey, we're working on it, buddy.
Yeah, we're doing it.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? It's one thing I think to be that close or whatever. I think to maintain that that camaraderie alongside like the level of consistency to keep building on the last thing that you do, where it's like, I mean, how many times, like, because they're not reinventing the wheel, right? What they're doing is just making good fucking music consistently again and again. And then, and then Dave Grohl even having like the ear and trying to keep rock and roll in the mainstream and stuff like that. So we not to go back to like the fuck these guys thing or whatever, but there is like a level of like pride or whatever that you have when you see a band that's 100% DIY, kind of like, you know what I mean, do their thing or whatever, where the Foo Fighters is like, he already did that work, you know what I mean, right? With like, he definitely already had a leg to stand on.
But he did release like the first album, no one knew it was
100%.
him, you
no,
know?
that's,
so in
exactly.
a way,
There's no dig on that or whatever, but I think that, you know, once there's there's something about like there's like commercial success or whatever that a lot of people can turn their nose up at, but that would be that point might be valid if there wasn't such a body of work here that you could kind of go back and be like,
and it might be valid if it was like actually done that way, where it's like,
100%.
but it's not like some record producer was like, oh, we'll get Dave Grohl in here and and
No,
we'll make
totally.
him do
Exactly.
all these
He
things. We
fucking
wrote all
made
these songs for him to
totally.
do. But when you're that age, it's kind of what the idea you have in your
That's
head of
the
it. It's
thing.
like, oh, it's this machine that's just cranking it
Yeah.
out.
But it's-
They're capitalizing on Kurt's death.
Well, like, I
blah,
fucking-
blah,
It's
blah.
like
You know what I
he
mean?
made
Like, I
that
was
because
like,
he had to make it.
Exactly.
You know?
And then you realize
And-
how he makes these albums, like even this one, where it's like, he goes out of the into the
Yeah,
boonies.
yeah.
But you can
And,
have
like,
that thing, and I think like for that, like my general like, when I found out what the record kind of industry was or whatever, like I fell in love with like pop music at first or whatever, right? And then you find out like all those bubblegum bands that you're like 7 or 8, like Britney Spears or NSYNC and all that stuff is like put together, and then I'm like, oh shit, and then you find like alternative music or something a little bit more, and like my favorite band that was the Sex Pistols.
Supertramp 2?
No, dude, my favorite thing was the fucking Sex Pistols, right? And then you find out like the fucking band that is like first Anarchy in the UK, and like some of the wildest shit that I heard or whatever with that message behind the music that I was like, oh fuck yeah. And then you find out they were put together, and you're like, wait a minute, fuck all these guys, whatever. So then
Beatles?
yeah, exactly, right? But then there is something about that, like that Misfits 45 that I own, that's like the Beware one, that is like from New Jersey, that those guys glued themselves together, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there is, you know what I mean, something to be said about like the Road Warriors or whatever that kind of go out there and like, and had to grind for it and whatever, right? But that's a completely different fucking conversation, right? I think at the end of the day, what what you have with a guy like Dave Grohl, somebody that's like going to put his fucking neck out there and still bring out guys like he's the reason there's like a Caged the Elephant, or there's like other bands or whatever that are still in, having moderate success.
And a
in
dude
the,
who
in the
put in the
charts
work
in-
already.
in
But
rock and roll, of course.
Yeah, he
And
put
like-
in the work with Nirvana.
Exactly,
Fucking
and
with
he
that
did
shit.
have
Put
to
in
work
nothing
for
but,
it
like,
They
with
were
the,
not.
He has
Yeah.
decades.
Sub
And
Pop
he
wasn't
did-
like Nirvana's going to be the band that fucking blows
and
up.
he did,
Fuck no.
and he worked for it with Foo
Minutemen all
Fighters
day.
too. Like he came out with a band that was different from Nirvana, and
sure.
everyone's like, "Oh, the Nirvana drummer's fucking
He's got a
singing
guitar?
now." Like he
Totally.
did, yeah. And it's like, so he did work for it because they
For
weren't like they
sure.
weren't super popular off the
Fuck
jump,
no.
you know.
Fuck no.
No.
And I bet
and-
they had to work twice as hard too, because those Nirvana
Exactly,
fans, you know what I
yeah.
mean? They're not gonna.
Yeah.
And they were different from Nirvana. Like this album is not a fucking not even close to a Nirvana
no,
album,
God,
you
no.
know.
Oh my
And
God,
it's a
no.
completely he's coming back and making again like the music that has spoken to him as time is, and he's also very self-aware. Like in that documentary, he says he's like, I always thought we were kind of like dad rock, like we're not cool, you know.
Yeah.
And he's like very aware of that, and like what you were saying, like certain people that are like you can tell they're meant to do something, like Rick Rubin did a series of podcasts with the Chili Peppers after the album came out, and they were talking about the story of how John came to rejoin the band, and there's basically this moment where Anthony and Flea went to his house. they had like a big talk, kind of like airing out of all of the shit that had built up through the years, kind of coming back together. And as they were leaving, Anthony was like, you know, whatever you decide, like I'm happy that we kind of had this talk finally. And John was like, I'm meant to be in this band. Like I was put here to be in this band. And you can see that immediately. You can see that with him, and you can see that with Dave, and you can see that with fucking Taylor coming into this, Foo Fighters too. That like that instant connection. It's like, oh yeah, these people are meant to be doing this thing together.
Yeah, 100%.
There was one kind of question that I was interested about your perspective, Ty. So how they recorded this album, kind of like isolated in this house, and that we've seen, you know, other bands do, like Chili Peppers for Blood Sugar. And so there's kind of this thing where musicians can kind of completely isolate themselves from everyone else when they make their art. And lots of times that really like elevates your art. Whereas for comics, to practice your art, it relies on being social and being around people. And that's two completely different skills and two completely different ways of making art. And for you, as someone who does both, like, how do you find that balance, or do you feel any sort of like conflict in the way that you know, do like these two different kind of forms of art?
Or is there like a correlation between like riffing and comedy, or riffing with other musicians kind of playing?
Yeah, deep. Totally different. Like, different vibe. Because like, I'd be a lot better at fucking comedy if I could go
exactly.
practice scales fucking 8 hours
That's what
a
I
day,
said. I was like, I
or
wish
learn
you
ear
could
training.
do that for
Now
me.
I feel like there are things that you can do within comedy that are like repetition, like practice, like things. But at the end of the day, it's like you gotta go and you gotta go do it, right? And like in music, there's so many different like alleys that you can go down, right? Like you can just be a studio band, but like you're not really. The Beatles are a fucking studio band. It's like they're not playing tons of live gigs and all that stuff, so like they can just lock away and do the studio thing, and that's fine. But then like really good live bands, it's like in order to be a really good live band, you have to play live all the fucking time. So like that is kind of the same as comedy in my perspective. And like I was always like, I loved playing live. That was my favorite thing to do. So we'd just play as many fucking shows as we possibly could. So in that way, I thought it was kind of similar. You know, but that's a tough one. I wish that you could just kind of, because I've tried to do that where I just go to isolate to write, and it's like sometimes I feel like that isn't even it. Like I'm not. It doesn't work out. It's always like shit that happens to me. You have to go out.
Bounce, or I have to kind of talk things out, or like. I like writing you can isolate, but I feel like to get those ideas I kind of have to be in a more social like mood to kind of talk things out and get these funny ideas, you know? Like you can't just fucking hide it.
Once I have the words and stuff like that, like, and like I will go through it like out loud, like in a mirror or whatever. But not for. That's like once I've had it pretty dialed.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally.
You know, once I dialed, then I'll get all like Carlin about it and be like these words here, blah, blah, blah.
You can't be like, I'm going to rent out a house and hide there for 3 months, and I'm going to come out with a new special.
That'd be fucking dope. I just like straight up, because like that's been done countless and countless times. It's like it's a proven method of successful records.
To get away from society, to get away from other people. Whereas like comedy feels like you have to do the opposite. You have to
sit
get
there
in.
And kind of, you know, you could play that song over and over again or whatever, and it'll still kind of, you know what I mean? It'll have that same effect. I think with like a joke or whatever, it's totally different if you don't have that. You know, like the ability to bounce it off or you know, try it again, right? Or even hear it out loud, like you said, like it's almost impossible to do. I have like 2 or 3, you know, kind of newer ideas or whatever that are a little bit longer that I haven't really had a chance to, or I haven't really felt comfortable enough trying them yet because they're longer pieces or whatever, and I haven't had the chance to even bullshit about them out loud just off the computer screen, right?
It's also so tough because it's like it's one thing. It's like I've done one way longer. Than the other, so it's like I can speak to that a little more, but like I'm like I don't really know, because if you should, I'm like like the whole isolation thing doesn't really work. To be honest with you, I've never gone away and just like try to write, you know,
a comedy retreat or something.
Yeah, I've never done
Yeah.
like a retreat, so I don't know. Maybe it does. I don't fucking know. But for right now, I feel like because I am so new, just surrounding myself with as many comic and funny people and people that are trying to do the same thing as me, who are better than me at it, is probably the most beneficial.
And I wish it wasn't, because I would much rather like isolate
just stay
myself
home and
than
not have to fucking yeah.
That's like the craziest thing with doing comedy is that for like I am someone who I really enjoy like staying at home. Like I'm a very introverted person, but I can be extroverted. Like I like, you know, being social to an extent. But to do like the art that you want to do, it requires like going out and like socializing and, you know, being in a bar or whatever, being in that kind of setting like every night that you do it, you know, and it's kind of this weird
that's why I'm around.
yeah.
I'm a butterfly socially, right? And I enjoy doing it, but like I think the only thing that's getting to me at like the older age or whatever is just my general like how much gas do I have in the tank to, you know, to do consecutive nights a week or whatever, right?
So bad. And like I work hella early too, so it's like this like there's like that whole day to fucking consider. Like, oh man, this shit was easier.
I'm looking at I got a really cool job opportunity, and I'm looking at the possibility of kind of starting up probably in like August, and I'm waking up early hours, and it's really hard not to just get high and go back to bed, because comedy life is way better.
Naps,
than,
dude.
You know
it's all about them naps.
It's all about the naps.
It's all about the naps. Yeah, and as you get older, the naps are fucking key.
That's it, right? But I was
now that we're older now, Johnny.
Well, exactly, man. We were put on this earth to do this.
Yeah, you're goddamn right.
But okay, before we wrap it up, I just have kind of a fun question.
Okay.
So like I said, Dave was saying when they recorded this album, they would, you know, drink beer and eat chili and drink whiskey all day. If you were gonna choose one food item and one beverage that you had to eat every day for 3 months, locked away in a house, what would it be?
Any food?
Any food.
You fucking know. If we're on the new League at Wed game right now, pick 2 things.
No,
just pick 2 things for me, just for have fun.
No,
babe, I bet it's the
right.
easiest thing. I guarantee you will.
No, I'm not gonna get it right.
Cheap beer and cheeseburgers.
Okay, I was gonna say burgers.
Yeah.
I'm going. I'm going pizza.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah, I could eat fucking pizza all goddamn.
Hell yeah.
There's 2 in my fridge right now that I've just ordered over the last like 2 days. I was like, I forgot that I had this.
Yeah.
It's great. I love pizza. Yeah, all day. And it was something to drink. I mean, pizza and beer is fantastic, but I'm not drinking beer, so I'll go.
No duels.
And old duels.
For 3
Yo,
months
you know what
straight,
I
the
have?
only thing
You know what I
can drink
have?
is old duels.
Dude, this is what I'll fucking have. And I had one just recently. It was the first one ever. It was called a Pepsi Nitro.
Oh.
And it has like the same shit in it that like Guinness cans have. And you
was that mango thing that Ravi
No,
had?
that was just a Pepsi Mango.
Oh, okay.
No, but Ravi did give me this one. It was like a vanilla.
Yeah,
it was a vanilla Pepsi, but like you pour it in it like it looks like Guinness. It's wild. And it tastes. Oh, it was fucking delicious.
Okay.
that with pizza, yeah, I'll fuck that up for sure.
That's
Okay.
cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think mine would be?
Oh, I have to guess yours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to say cold noodles and Okanagan cider bear.
Noodles don't have to be cold, okay? That's
It's just what I see you eating the most.
They just can be. Yeah. Oh, and fun fact, Foo Fighters, the name, Dave Grohl got it because that's what during World War II, the Allied forces would refer to UFOs as Foo Fighters. So that's where he got the name, because he was reading a bunch of UFO books and stuff at the time.
Fighting Foo. All right. Cool.
And,
I'm into that.
that's it. Rest in peace. Rest in peace, Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Peace.
Peace.